Welcome back to Soda City Live. February is Black History Month, and today we have a very special guest joining us in our studio today for the first time on Soda City Live, Dr. Nikki Finney. She is a poet and professor at USC, and she's also their professor for the English and African American Studies departments. And of course, if you are familiar with her historical ties, her father was actually the first African American Supreme Court justice appointed to the state of South Carolina Supreme Court since Reconstruction. And his name, the late Ernest Finney Jr. Thank you so much for joining us today, Nikki.
Thank you for inviting me.
Such a very long introduction, but very needed. People need the context.
Yes, they do.
They need that context. So I want to talk a little bit about Black History Month as African American Studies professor.
Right.
So talk about the importance of celebrating Black history.
You know, one of the things that drives me a little crazy is that we think that Black History Month must only be February. And I grew up a little girl from South Carolina in not just a family, but in a community that celebrated Black history 12 months out of the year, every day. Somebody was always talking about an ancestor, somebody who had done something for the community to hold it up. And so Black history was like 24/7 for me. So I love that we get to February, but before we get to February, May had some Black history for me and all the other months too. So I always tell my students and people in the community that we need to be celebrating Black history around the clock.
Absolutely. And you know, I think about legacy, and I think about how you have kind of channeled something from both of your parents. Your mom is an educator, you're an educator, your father is history, a part of our history here, and you're teaching history. What does it mean to you being a part of that legacy?
It means everything. It's a responsibility. I'm an artist. My father wanted me to go to law school. I was like, no, no, no. I can do this with art and writing and poetry. And in those mediums, I bring history into those mediums and talk about the history of Black folks in South Carolina. So I'm doing my part, I think. I'm not, you know, I can't do everything, but I can do my part. And thank you for mentioning my mother's name.
Yes.
Because we always mention my father, but my mom is the reason I'm here today, and because I'm a poet. She read to us. She read to us those stories. She cut articles out of Jet magazine and Ebony magazine and put them on the table and said, okay, read this tonight or you're going to be tested on it. So she's very important to this whole conversation.
Absolutely. And you know, I can actually relate to your mom having you read things. My grandfather used to have us reading the newspaper. And you know, that's another thing that I think about when I think about Black history and legacy. You know, these are things that our ancestors and our families have passed down to us, and it's important for us to understand that history so that we can continue to move forward in a positive way. And speaking of moving forward, I want to talk about this engagement that you have this weekend, but I'm going to actually come back to that, and I want to kind of talk about the arts, since that's where we were kind of going.
Right.
There's actually a building that is going to be honoring your father. Talk about that.
2 years ago, we opened our doors, the Ernest A. Finney Jr. Cultural Arts Center, 1510 Lawrence Street, right in downtown Columbia. We've spent the last 2 years telling the community about it. We've got 7,000 square feet, unrenovated as of yet, but we have had book parties. We've had poetry readings. We had Black Fashion Week there from Columbia. We've had all kinds of things just kind of sprinkling the ground so far, but we're about to embark on a capital campaign. We need some money to fix the building, to get the HVAC moving, to have the kind of space we want to have. We have Anthony Lewis there now, who is a beautiful visual artist who has a studio space. He's creating the most gorgeous work right now in one of those rooms, but we need more rooms, we need more things, and so we're going to embark on that campaign to make sure we get it. But we've been letting people know about who we are for the last 2 years.
And it's the Ernest A. Finney Jr.
Cultural Arts Center.
Yes. Awesome, awesome. We're going to be on the lookout for that.
Okay.
And you know what? I'm going to do a shameless plug. I always call it a shameless plug. Since you are needing assistance with that, if there are any viewers that are watching right now that want to help, now that they know about it, where can they go to get in touch with you?
Finney Jr. CAC @gmail.com.
Awesome. And we'll make sure that we include that on our social media and on our website.
Great.
But now let's talk a little bit about this speaking engagement. You're going to be speaking at a historical Black church right here in the Midlands. Bright and early, though. Bright and early. Tell us what you're going to be talking about and the significance of you speaking where you're going to be speaking.
St. Luke's Episcopal Church has been a cornerstone of faith and religion in our community since the early 19th century.
Wow.
And so St. Luke's invited me to do a presentation this coming Sunday morning, 10 a.m., and I said yes, because what we are doing in the arts at the Cultural Center, I think, intersects with what St. Luke's is doing. And so we're going to be talking about why the arts. The arts, you know, so often are the first thing to be taken away from our kids in the school system. The arts let us know who we are. They let us know, art is when you make something with your hands, with your head, with your heart, with your history. This helps us define our own individual lives so that we know when we get out in the real world what we will do, what we won't do. So I'm going to talk about the intersection of St. Luke's, historic Waverly Church, and the historic Waverly community. And here we are in this 21st century building a new space for the arts in Waverly. And what are the intersections of that? I come from grandmothers and great-grandmothers who used to go out in the yard and plant gardenia bushes and magnolia bushes. That was artistic. Yes. They didn't have an art degree, but what they were doing, they were telling themselves and they were telling the community, I love beauty. I can make something with my own hands. I don't have to be designated as an artist by anybody else. I am designated by my own self and by my own family. We want to bring that kind of feeling about the arts and creativity back into the community that has been around for so long. Waverly was the first suburb in Columbia.
Wow.
It was built out of a plantation that was in downtown Columbia, and it was the first suburb that was the only place black people could live. So many people have lived there. Majeska Simpkins, Matthew Perry, federal judge, and on and on and on. So many people who have shaped Columbia have lived in the Waverly community. 4x4 streets that never get celebrated in the way that they should. So we're going to go to St. Luke. We're going to celebrate St. Luke. We're going to celebrate Waverly, and we're going to celebrate the arts.
Beautiful, beautiful. Dr. Finney, thank you so much for joining us today. The details to where you can hear her and everything that she's mentioned here, but a little bit more, is right there on your screen. 10 a.m. Sunday, February 18th, again at St. Luke's Episcopal Church. Thank you again. We will have all these details on our website and our Facebook page, Soda City Living, Soda City Living. And we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back after this. We're going to be celebrating women next.